तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. So we will continue from the portion which we have just finished in the last class from the succeeding portion. So we find that the master with the Brahma devotees, he is conversing with the Brahma devotees. So then the master said, Chaitanya used to shed tears of joy at the very mention of Krishna's name. God alone is the real substance. All else is illusory. All the scriptures, the essence of all the scriptures, of the Hindu scriptures, is this, that this world is illusory. Even in the Bhagavatam, we will find it starts with that idea that this entire creation is just like Marichika, like the mirage. Just in the desert, when you see the mirage, it's not real. But as long as the desert is there, then the projection of the mirage is possible. So it is something which is not real, but at the same time, it has a substratum. It is not just alika. In Sanskrit, there are very few technical terms. Alika means imagination. So imagine certain thing which is not real, like Shashastringa, a rabbit with horns. It's not possible, but I can imagine. Or some Akasha Kushuma, a flower in the sky. I can imagine. So these are all mere imageries which is not based on any reality. So these are called alika. But when Vedanta says that the world is illusory, it doesn't say in the sense of alika. It's not an imagination. There is a substratum which is appearing as something else. Just the way we see a snake in a rope in the twilight hours. So that's the idea in whether it is a dualistic religion or the Advaitic. No one denies the fact that God alone is the real substance and the entire creation is a mere projection. It's not a real transformation like the milk becoming yogurt. It's not like that. It's just the vivarta. It's something appearing as something. If I don't really understand it in that way, then many of the mantras of the Vedas cannot be understood. Just the way when we say Purnamada Purnamidam, the Shanti mantra. Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. So what it's speaking of? That this is Purna. This is something which is perfect, which is full. That is full. So this means this world of the senses. This is full. The world which, and that means what? From where it has been created. The creator. He is also full. Now the next word is very simple. Purnat Purnamudachyate. From that fullness, this fullness has come. Now, if something is the cause from which the effect has effectualized, then what's our idea? That it has got transformed. If I'm pouring water from one vessel to the other, the vessel which was full no longer remains full. It is filling up the other vessel which was empty. So it is not something like pouring of water from one vessel to other, then both cannot be Purna. It has to be Vivarta. So when you see a snake in a rope, the rope, as long as I see the snake is real. But it is not at the cost of the reality of the rope. The rope, when the ignorance vanishes, I find it, the rope was, the rope is, the rope will be. For the time being, as a Vyavaharika Satya, I was seeing it as the snake. So that's the idea of the illusion. So it is illusory. God alone is real, which is appearing as this world of this senses. So that's the idea which we find in all the Hindu scriptures, that God alone is real, all else is illusory. Man can realize God if he wants to, but he madly craves the enjoyment of woman and gold. So this is the thing which we find again and again in the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. That many find that why Sri Ramakrishna again and again is speaking of this Kamini Kanchana, that all are running after Kamini and Kanchana, and that's the reason they cannot realize God. So we repeat it again and again, that why we have no love for God? Because we never felt it as a necessity in our life. Why we are so much running after the sensate pleasures of life? Because we will find all the sensate pleasures of life is something which is necessary, which has got converted into obsession. That's the way our mind works. Today's necessity becomes obsession by repeated pursuit. In the modern psychology, they speak of it as the neuroplasticity of our mind. When out of necessity we do things again and again, a groove is as if created in the mind. A path is as if created in the mind. And once the path is created, we forget the necessity. Just doing it becomes our obsession. In spiritual sense, we are all OCDs. We all have this obsessive compulsive disorder. All. When you go to the doctor, those who have this psychological problem, you will find that they are doing repeatedly certain things which doesn't serve any purpose. Like washing hands. It's a good habit. It's a hygienic habit. Before having food, you have to wash your hands. It's a hygienic habit. But you will find some person have developed a mania throughout the day, without reason, is washing his hands. And we say he is having OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. He is doing certain things repeatedly without any purpose. Why it happens, how it happens, we all are actually suffering from OCD in spiritual sense. That out of necessity, when we do certain thing, we forget the necessity after some time. A path is created by repeated action, and we find pleasure in doing it. And that's why you will find that's the cause of our bondage. As a bee, we come to sip honey, and then we find our wings have got stuck in the honey. Like this Kamini Kanchan. Without lust, there cannot be the sustenance of nature. That's the rule of nature. Procreation has to be there. Without wealth, I cannot sustain myself. These are necessities. By constant pursuit, ages together, generations after generations, what has happened? A groove has been created in our mind which is transmitted genetically. And we find an inordinate attachment to all those things. And then you just open the newspaper or you go to some news channel and you find any crime. At last you will find these are the two reasons. No other reason is there. Either lust or wealth. Now you will understand what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, how important it is. That today's necessity, because of repeated pursuit, creates as if a path in the mind. That's the nature of the mind. It becomes a groove, deep groove, and now we start to traverse that path again and again. We forget the necessity. Just to traverse becomes our obsession. And this faculty of the mind, which is the limitation of the mind, which is taking us as if spirally downwards, this can be designed in such a way it can again take us spirally upward. The same thing, which is a limiting factor, can be the factor for our liberation. How? That develop a love. Love means what? The idea of God. In all the religions, they say that there is no commonalities. All the religion has certain commonalities. What is the commonality? Whatever may be your belief, let us forget about what you believe. As per the belief is concerned, I do differ from you. But we do have certain belief, and you will find all the religion, there is a repetition. What I believe, the form of God, the concept of God, to remember it, I will be again and again repeating. In Islam, in Christianity, in Hinduism you find this japa. The Islam, the reading of the namaz, you find they repeat the same thing. The Christian prayers, even all the religion, very interesting, you will find have rosary. In some form or other, everyone has rosary. And the concept of repeating certain form of prayers or certain syllable is there in all the religions. Why? It's you taking the limitation of the mind, that the neuroplasticity, it converts it into something positive. When you have a concept of divinity, what's the concept of divinity? That it is something which is eternal. That's the essence of our being. It is, I am, we are in eternal association with the divine. This body will fall off, but I am not going to die. I am going to be in eternal association with the divine as the conscious principle is concerned. As has been spoken even of it in the Bible. Worship the Spirit by the Spirit. That when I am worshipping God, I always conceive myself as the Spirit, not as this body-mind. And God as the Spirit. And the Spirit is in eternal association with the soul. The soul is in eternal association with the divine. This body will fall off, but I do continue to exist. This is the sublime idea, again you find in all the religions, in whatever form it may be. And that's the practice. Through all the practice, we are always trying to commune to the divine with that idea. And through this repeated practice, what happens is a wonderful thing happens. You start developing love for this practice. The same reason, that what you do repeatedly, it creates a path in the mind, and then you develop love for it. As has been spoken of in our scriptures, bhaktya sanjayate bhakti. That how to develop devotion. We all the religions say love God. And you say, I don't feel like loving God. How to love God? I have love for the sensate pleasures of life, but I don't have no such inclination to love God. How to develop love? You say you love God? Bhaktya sanjayate. This practice, this repetition, that which at present is just a mere resolution. My spiritual teacher have told me, or my tradition have told me, at certain hours in the morning, in the evening, just resort to your prayers. Go on with your prayers. Repeat the prayers. At the beginning, it is just a resolution. There is no love. But know it for certain, as Swami Vivekananda used to say, the entire spiritual journey can be defined with 3 P's. What are the 3 P? Purity, patience, perseverance. Purity means trying to keep your mind in the thought of the divine. That speaks of purity, because the mind at a time can never have more than one thought. The mind can never do multitasking. It is always jumping from thought to thought. It jumps at a very so fast sequence, which gives us an idea that as if I am multitasking. But at a time, it can never have more than one thought. So when you are resorting to the thought of the divine, the other thought are bound to fall off. The more you go towards the east, the west lags behind, automatically falls behind. That's what Sri Ramakrishna used to say. So the more you try to keep your mind in the thought of the divine, that speaks of the purity. But it's not easy. It's not that in a day you can really succeed. So you need patience. The second piece, patience. And the third piece, perseverance. That it's not that simply I am waiting that one day it will happen. You have to try repeatedly again and again. That's perseverance. I will fail, again I try. And that's how gradually my mind develops the capacity to be focused in that thought. And this resolution has now, what happens? when with repeated practice, with your resolution, most probably there is no love for it. But this resolution at last you will find with repeated practice, you are gradually developing a liking for this practice. An emotion has developed. The same reason, the thing which you do repeatedly, that creates as if a path in the mind. Once the path is created, the mind likes to traverse that path. So now you will find that in the course of time, through your patience, through your perseverance, you have developed a liking for that practice. Now the real meditation, the real spirituality starts when you get that liking. We all think meditation is a matter of resolution. My mind is getting distracted. By willpower, I have to bring it back again and again to the object of concentration. As long as we have to use the willpower, know it for certain, we can never have good meditation. That willpower has to get transformed into devotion, liking. In our life, we will find all our focus, contemplation is when there is a passion for it. You cannot force a student to study unless he has a passion for it. The mother loves the child, and that's why she always remembers the child, whatever she may be doing. She need not have to sit down to meditate on the child lest she forget the child. The love speaks of real meditation. So when your resolution gets converted into love, devotion, then your mind becomes one-pointed. The entire spiritual journey, for whatever may be the religion, these are the commonalities. So religion is not just in mere belief, it is in practice which takes you to some realization. Unless you have realization, all the things which we profess as religion is of no use. That is, that they are bound to create conflicts and fights throughout the world we find. Because all think religion is a matter of belief. It's not a matter of belief. Whatever you believe, that has to be brought down to practice to take you to the realization. Now, when you have developed love, you now start meditating. It becomes a flow. Whatever may be your belief. And now a wonderful thing happens. What's the thing? Anything, when your mind is focused on certain thing, you enter a state of flow, you will find other things starts falling off. A musician, when he is totally focused on his music, you will find he even forgets the audience, the crowd sitting there. Any musician who is aware of the crowd can never perform. He has to be so passionate about the music, this crowd becomes something irrelevant. He gets deeply absorbed in the music. As a result, what happened? First, the crowd falls off. Not only that, then his own bodily feeling starts falling off, because the more the mind gets concentrated on the object of concentration, on the object of focus, the mind has a limited power to process information. The more you're focused on certain thing, it takes most of your mind. Very little portion of your mind remains to take care of other things. So they start falling off one by one. Not only that, at last your own bodily feelings, they are all the alarm systems, biological alarm, your hunger, your thirst, your tiredness. These feelings are biological alarm. They need also a part of your mind. Your focus is not allowing the mind to take care of all those alarm systems of your body. So you will find the one who is focused in what he is doing, a musician performing throughout the night, is not tired, doesn't feel the need to sleep, is not hungry. Why? All the bodily alarm systems has fallen off, as the mind is so deeply engrossed in the thing that he is or she is doing. So the focus speaks of gradually falling off all the things. Now in meditation also the same thing happens. The more you get deeply engrossed, the more the other thing starts falling off. The last thing to fall off is our ego. That even if I close my eyes, my ears, I just cut off from all the perceptions, from the entire dealings with the world. One thing I can never get rid of, that I am this limited being sitting here. This is my body, this is my mind. I am centered here. The world, the infinite world with its vast expanse is out there. But I am limited in space and time sitting here. Can you get rid of that idea? No. That speaks of the ego. The conscious principle, the ultimate conscious principle getting reflected in the psychophysical existence, appears as that reflection, which is our ego, ahankara. A part of the mind is always attached to that. As long as the ego is intact, then all other things are possible, because all our likings and dislikings are concerned with the ego. I like this, I hate this, everything is linked with that I. And when that I at last, that also needs a part of your mind, that also is taken away because of your tremendous focus, then a wonderful thing happens. In our scriptures, they speak of samadhi. What is samadhi? It is defined as triputi bheda. Triputi bheda. Triad collapses. What's the triad? This dhyana, dhyata, dheya. Even when I am meditating, even when my mind is extremely focused, the distractions has fallen off. Three ideas are still there. That I am the meditator, the object of my meditation is there, I am meditating, I am the dhyata, the object of meditation is the dheya, and what is connecting these two? The process of meditation, dhyana. So dhyana, dhyata, dheya, these three are distinct. But the moment your mind becomes so focused that even the ego cannot be taken care of, the small part of your mind which is always engaged to keep your ego intact, that also has been taken away by your object of meditation. This triad collapses. You become one with the object of meditation. You have created a hole in the wall of ego. And then for the time being, your mind has stopped. When the ego falls off, the mind, the chitta also falls off. And that takes you to some mystic experience, which is ineffable. It is very difficult to explain. In the words of Ramakrishna, kamun ghi na jamun ghi. The one who has tasted the clarified butter, ghee, he knows its taste. It has a peculiar taste. Now, if I ask, please explain it. Can you explain it? It's impossible. Kamun ghi na jamun ghi. There are so many things which you can experience, but which you cannot describe. If you ask a mother, do you love your child? Of course. All the mother love their child. Now, if try to ask her, please explain that love. Can she explain? At most, she can say, if you become a mother, then you will understand. Nothing else. It is something which is experienceable, but which cannot be describable. So that's what's meant by ineffable. But at the same time, it is noetic. William James has done a wonderful comparative study of these religions and told all the religions, when they go to this mystic realization, this is something which we find is common in all. That all the prophets of all the religions, they say that what I have realized is noetic. I'm certain, I'm sure about it. It is not something imagination. All the doubts have fallen off because it is my conviction that is noetic. But what it is, cannot explain. Because when the ego falls off, to give a very small inkling of the idea, when I think of myself, Swami Vivekananda's definitions are wonderful. He says the jiva, the individual soul, is like a circle which has a center, but it has no circumference. Circumference is infinite. What's the idea? That when I am thinking of myself, I can never get rid of the idea that I am located somewhere. But with my mind, I can traverse anywhere. If science says this is the last galaxy, beyond that, what is there? No one knows. With my mind, I can go even beyond that galaxy through my imagination. With my mind, I can go anywhere. So I am S, but I can never get rid of my idea of myself being centered in certain space, in certain time, and certain causation. That these are the reasons for which I am here. It says I was born in such a time, and now I am here. So this idea of space-time causation, which constitutes my ego, I can never get rid of that. But I can, through my mind, traverse anywhere. So jiva is a circle which has a center, but circumference is nowhere. And what is God? These definitions are wonderful. He's saying God is a circle which also have no circumference, but whose center is everywhere. It's a wonderful idea. What happens? When you go, these are all the mystic realizations. When you go to that realization, your locality vanishes. You are still aware of your amness, I am. But there is no locality. It is not centered anywhere. To give an idea, suppose, on the weekend, as you don't have to go to your work office or your university or anywhere. So after your lunch, that day as you are at your residence, you have a nice lunch, and after lunch, as you are relaxing, you just go to a drowsy state. You start most probably having a short nap, and you get up after the nap. Sometimes you will find that you just take the paste on your brush and just go to brush your teeth. What has happened? That somehow your idea of time has vanished. That you are still aware of your existence, but you are thinking it's the morning, because that's not the time when you sleep. So you have forgotten the idea of time. If you are not sleeping in your regular bed, where you get up from the left, you are sleeping on somewhere else, and you will find you go and crash with the wall, because that's not the general position when you are sleeping, and you just, as per your habit, try to get up and you just crash with the wall. What it speaks of? You are aware of your amness, but for the time being, you are not aware of space, time, causation, anything. That amness speaks of that non-locality. Just to give an idea, it's not something which really that realization speaks of, to have an idea. That amness where I am, but it has no locality, it has no idea of time, space, causation. That's why it is called Brahman. That Atman is Brahman. What Brahman means? The word Brahman came from Bri Dhatu. Bri means Brihat. That the idea that I am this limited being, I can never jump out of myself. However I may try, I can never jump out of myself. That only in Samadhi is possible. You as if jump out of yourself. You find your locality has vanished. You are beyond time, space, causation. That's why your circle. That's why Swami is saying God is a circle whose center is everywhere. Circumference like Jiva is nowhere, but its center is everywhere. It has lost its locality. So that's the idea, that's the mystic realization which can take you to that unitary experience which the mystics of all religions have experienced. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Shekhane. When all say that the religions, that Jato Mat, nowadays a lot of caricature is going on, Jato Mat, Tato Pat. You will find these people are shouting just based on certain belief. God has said that in such and such scripture. What have you realized? Have you taken those words for your realization? Have traversed? If not, then at least listen to the mystics of all the religions. You will find that they are not satisfied with mere belief. Their belief has actually motivated them to certain practice, and they have went to some realization. And when they are speaking of the realization, those who just believe their religion, just are satisfied with the doctrines and dogmas, they start shouting, they start barking almost. They start barking, and they term them, they brand them as heretics. You will find in Christianity, in Islam, everywhere, when in Islam, the Sufis started saying Anal Haq, they were persecuted. You know why? Al Haq means the truth. When there's one an is added before it, means I am the truth. And how can you be the truth? It is a blasphemy. And they were persecuted. In Christianity, you will find the Christian mystics, Meister Eckhart, when he is speaking, which resonates the idea of that ultimate unification of all the souls into one soul, which is our source. Again, they are branded as heretics. They were on the verge of being persecuted. So many mystics, Christian mystics, were persecuted. So this all happened because those who just believe in the doctrines and dogmas, they are bound to be fanatics. You know why they are bound to be fanatics? They are bound to be fanatics. Just to give an example, suppose a man who have tasted the mango and comes and explains the taste of mango to a group of people who have never tasted it. He says mango is sweet, it has a nice flavor. They all think we have understood, because all the people do have the experience of something sweet, of something which has a flavor. Now they try to relate his words with their available fund of experience. They have not tested. Just they take those words to be true, and with that they develop their own concept. One will say mango is as sweet as molasses. It's like molasses, and it has a nice fragrance like the tuberose, Rajnigandha tuberose. Someone says no. It is as sweet as honey. It has the flavor of jasmine. Just see. No one have tested the mango. So they are trying to relate the words with their available fund of experience, and thousands of doctrines and dogmas are formed. All are fighting with each other. I have heard of a very wonderful joke that once God incarnated and was revealing the truth to all who gathered around him. And now the votaries of Satan, they were concerned. The Satan's kingdom, this rule has gone, will be over. God is revealing the truth. So they ran to Satan, who was sitting on his throne, totally unconcerned. They ran and told that God has incarnated. It's a big danger for us. And he's revealing the truth. The Satan was not at all perturbed. He was still just sitting in a throne, totally undisturbed. And now these votaries started just asking him, doesn't it make you feel disturbed that the God is revealing the truth? Well, you are fools, Satan told. You just go and have an intent look. That the huge crowd you see around him, who are they? They are all my votaries. After listening what God has said, they will start preaching and my work will be done. My work will be done. All fight will start. Because after hearing about the taste of mango, who have not tasted the mango, they will start describing the taste of mango and you can understand what can happen. And that's what is going on in the world till now. Because religion to most of the people is just a belief. It doesn't speak of going to the realization. Any belief. We will find when Narendranath went to Ramakrishna and told that such and such faith is a blind faith, immediate Ramakrishna's reply was wonderful. He laughed heartily and then asked Naren, can you say me which faith has eyes? All faith are blind. It's based on belief. But then why to resort to faith? They themselves are blind, but they can be the eye opener. The practices which has been spoken of, that can take you to that highest revelation. Even some nonsense practice can take you to the highest revelation if you have faith. And Ramakrishna gives a wonderful example that someone went to a guru and the guru thought he's a very simple person, illiterate. He doesn't have this idea about the subtleties of religion. So when he was asking for a mantra, he just spoke some nonsense words. So this is your mantra for you. Go on repeating it. But this man had a faith. He went and really took those words to be the mantra and practiced. What he was doing? Repetition. The will got converted into devotion. The devotion, that by repeating that meaningless word, the devotion took him to the flow, and at last that flow, unable to obliterate the ego, and the mind becomes so focused, you created a hole in the wall of your ego and peeped through it, what you saw, the same infinity. That's as Sri Ramakrishna practiced all the religions. So he could say this wonderful thing, that all the various concepts of divinities, all the various forms of divinities, where those who believe in form, their forms, those who believe in certain concepts, the concepts, they are just like a hole in the wall of ego through which you can peep into the eternity. What a wonderful thing he's saying. So these are mere programmings. All the beliefs are programming. If you, in a computer programming, the language may be so incoherent for a person who doesn't know this language, it appears as if meaningless. But why we give value to it? Because we know the end product. With that programming, what you get as the end product. That is something which makes this language, even those who doesn't understand, they understand that there must be some meaning in it. That through this, I am getting this product, end product. And that's what Swami Vivekananda said in the last session of the Parliament of Religions lecture. That his words are wonderful. What he told, that in the present day, we all have to really understand that his words that I have noted somewhere. 1 minute, I will just read it out to you. The words of Swami Vivekananda in the last session of the Parliament of Religion. It's something which is very, very relevant in the present time. That's his words are, if the Parliament of Religions has shown anything to the world, it is this. It has proved to the world that holiness, purity, and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world, and that every system had produced men and women of the most exalted character. So this is something even Barack Obama in one of his lectures had quoted, because it is so relevant today. Can you deny this fact? We all question with others' faith, others' belief. We sometimes caricature with others' belief. And at last, can you deny this fact that all the religions have produced some great men? Their life which speaks of unbound empathy for all, love for all, same-sightedness. There are, if we are not biased, we have to agree to the fact that whatever may be the belief system, we find that even in the West, when Swami Vivekananda had to hear so much of criticism against idolatry, idol worship, his answer was wonderful. He told, just show me a Ramakrishna, the product of an idolatry. He was an idol worshipper. Show me a man as exalted in character, as exalted in his spiritual achievements as Ramakrishna. Then I will understand that, yes, idolatry is of no use. That is just a programming which gives this end result. So isn't it the fact that all the religions has produced this men of holiness, purity, charity, and not the exclusive, it is not an exclusive portion of any church. As per our beliefs, we may criticize others thinking my belief is better, I am holier than thou. But actually at last it is all mere childish. All those are beliefs. You know, it's how? There is a very nice example which one of our senior Swamis once gave. It is called Ahangraha Upasana. Instead of trying to go to the concept, the idea is very wonderful, which can be understood with the help of an example. Suppose a doctor, after his work in the hospital, returns to his home. He has 3-4 children. He returns and he sits down to relax. He opens his white coat. He keeps the stethoscope. He opens his shoes. All the children come running. One takes the stethoscope and puts it on his ears and goes on putting the stethoscopes in everyone's chest as if he or she has become the doctor. Another child comes running. He wears the white coat and runs about. He also feels, I'm the doctor, wearing the father's white coat. And someone comes, wears the shoes. The children, you will find, always have the tendency to wear the shoes of the elders. So we'll wear the shoes, and he or she is also running about the house. These are all mere meaningless childish act. No one becomes a doctor by wearing a white coat. No one becomes a doctor just by taking the stethoscope in his ears. And no one becomes a doctor by wearing a doctor's shoes. But the father is happy. You know why? He knows that behind all this meaningless, childish act, a motivation is working. That one day I also will become a great surgeon like my father. So the acts are meaningless, varied. But behind it, the motivation is the same. When you say that you worship, I find so many were caricaturing. You worship the Shiva Linga. It is a phallic symbol. Without knowing the real meaning of it, people are caricaturing. Do the person who is worshipping, who is feeling like that? Or he is feeling he is worshipping the divine? This is very easy to caricature about others' faith when you really don't have devotion for your own faith. For most of us, the best way to show my devotion in my religion is to show hatred towards others' religion. Because I have no devotion. As I have no devotion for my own religion, what's the only way I can show that adherence to my religion? By hating others. If you really develop love for what you believe, you won't have time for all those show of hatred, vengeance towards others. Are you really devoted to what you believe? Is it what you believe has transformed your life? You find this we are lacking. So what Swamiji is saying is wonderful. If the Parliament of Religion has shown anything to the world, it is this. It has proved to the world that holiness, purity and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world, and that every system has produced men and women of most exalted character. In the face of this evidence, if anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of the others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion, this is very important, upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance. What it will be written? Help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. These are the final words in the final session of the Parliament Religion of Swami Vivekananda. And this is prophetic word. We will find many religion, many denominations, even in the present day, which is rooted in fanaticism. That my way is correct and your way is correct. The founder of such and such denominations, their words we find are so much radical. But very interesting. In the recent some developments we find that the same organization which is based on such radical ideas, and when their own followers are speaking something on the same line, the organization is giving a press release. What's the press release? That no, it is a time that we have to have faith in others. We have to have respect in others. Just see how the prophetic the words is, that in spite of resistance, we find there is tremendous resistance when the organization is giving that statement that their follower, what they have done is not correct. Then within them we find there are so many who are still supporting him. The organization has given a press release, but still that support is going on. What it speaks of, in spite of resistance, you have to. The time has come. This is the prophetic word. The Vivekananda's prophetic words in so many ways are proving true. I will give another example. Here you find that the world at present, you know that before the Second World War, colonialism was at the vogue of the European society. It was okay. Everyone was competing for colonialism. After the Second World War, after the peace treaty, it was almost decided that this is the cause of all the dissensions. It's not that the countries gained their independence. It was delivered to most of the countries because colonialism, they understood, is something which in future will bring tremendous dissension in the world. And that's how the colonialism gradually will find has vanished. In the world is going towards such a situation at present where, like that UN peace treaty, all the religions will have to say that these are the words, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction. It has to be something which has to be written in the flag of each and every religion. If the world has to survive, we forget one thing, that God's creation is unique, which speaks of unity in diversity. When we create, as a human being, we create something. If I have a bunch of pen of the same brand and I distribute it among you, among the students, and I take it back and ask the students, just pick up the pen which I gave you. No one can do. They're so uniform, so similar. But God's creation is wonderful. In this world, there's 8 billion population. You can be picked out you just from anyone else, just by what to speak of your mind, just by your thumb impression. That's the God's creation. Even the twins can be separated from each other. No two are alike. And we think all will believe in the same way. Within the same religion, the religion which says that there will be peace when the entire world gets converted into my religion, they forget the nations which represent that religion alone. Maximum fight is going on there. Because within them, the same faith, you will find thousands of denominations are there where they are fighting with each other. Because the human nature is such. The human nature, because God has created that way. If you have to see the signature of God, see the variety. The variety speaks of the signature of God. As a human being, we always try to make everything uniform. If you have to see the signature of God, see the variety. He has made each and everyone unique. And we think everyone has to wear the same coat. If the coat doesn't fit, you cut his hand, but somehow you have to enter into it. So that cannot be. The world in present has to understand that yes, these words, Jatoma Tattva, is prophetic. And I was thinking that how these words are prophetic. When Swami Vivekananda spoke of another, this dimension of this new religion, the Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. You know, when the Swamis were going out to serve the sick, the monks who were sick, they used to cleanse them. Because no one was to look, when anyone sadhu gets sick, no one will look after them. So our sadhus, being inspired by the idea of Shiva in every jiva, they were serving them. They will cleanse them. And the hospital was formed. And these sadhus were called bhangi sadhus. Means the sweeper, whose job is to clean all these urines and others, your faces. These sadhus are doing all those nasty things. And in bhandaras, we were not invited because there we were considered as lowly. And there's a wonderful one Swami, this Dhanaraj Giri. One day he finding that Ramakrishna Mission sadhus have not been invited. He was very much respected in the sadhu samaj. When he asked that where is the Ramakrishna Mission sadhus? So others told that they are very lowly. And immediately he told, unless they are invited, I am not going to have my food. But he was so much revered, all were now really disturbed. Because if he says, I won't take food, means the entire bhandar won't start. And then what he told is something interesting. When you were all small children, you were helpless. You have no capacity to do anything by your own. Your mother used to clean your urine, used to clean your stool. Do you call your mother a bhangi? That was the thing he asked the sadhus. All were silent. These two Swamis were brought. They were asked to sit beside him. And he gave the recognition. And not only that, but still the sadhu samaj continued with the idea that sadhus are not supposed to do any type of humanitarian activities. They are just, because it's all maya, they will just meditate. You know, when Indira Gandhi was the prime minister, a wonderful thing happened. All the ashram was having huge property, but they were doing no work. And the government thought that such a waste of land, they thought of annexing all those lands. And now the sadhu samaj got frightened. They were going to lose so much of property. They went to one of the sadhika, one of the spiritually realized soul, not sadhika, she was a realized soul, Ananda Mahima, to whom Indira Gandhi used to visit. And as the sadhus knew that the Indira Gandhi, the prime minister, reveres Ananda Mahima, they went to her and told, please save us. He's going to do it. And then Ananda Mahima talked about this to Indira Gandhi. And then the prime minister, what they decided, that within another 14-15 years, they all have to start some humanitarian activities if they want to maintain that land. And now you find by force, all have started. The things which the Bhangi sadhus have started, they have to start. Why? Because Swamiji was a prophet. He foresaw that what the society has to do if it really has to evolve. That the basic principles of religion remain same. As Ramakrishna used to say, Badshahi Amoler Mudra is that at the time of the Mughal emperor, the coins which were used were invalid at the time of the British government. It doesn't grow. So every age has to mold their religion as per the principle. The principle won't change. But as per the need of the society, you have to mold yourself. And that's the thing Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna did. And all have to understand that. Religion cannot be just based on those narrow beliefs. It has to be based on that Jatamat Tatamat. Because we have so many different perspectives, and that is what God has willed. He has created us in all these varied ways. And we cannot think of uniformity, but thinking that mine is the only way. Those days are gone. Swami Vivekananda in one place have very nicely told that, define the fanatics. He's saying the fanatics are even worse than the dogs. He never used the word dogs. He told is worse than the canine instinct. Very nicely he has, canine instinct means the dogs. Why? Because the dogs can recognize their master in whatever dress he may be. But this fanatics doesn't recognize their master once he changes his dress. He comes in a different form, doesn't recognize. They're even worse than the canine instinct. So this is the time where instead of wasting our time in this unnecessary fight, it's a time to realize the prophetic words of Ramakrishna of Jatamat Tatapat. If you make a caricature out of it, you have to confess that yes, it was not something which I did rightly. Because the time, we cannot, that the world has become so small. It's a global village now. Previously we had the luxury to dream that my religion is the best and just be in the geographical location where you are with your own faith. Your own faith people are there, you don't have to interact with the world, and you think I am the supreme. It was okay. But then the world has become geographic, is a global village. All sorts, all the people of various nations are now in this in a hotspot, in a small place. Geographically, we are all staying in a melting pot. And unless we synchronize through this belief of unity in diversity, we are going to destroy ourselves. I still remember that once someone asked that why Diwali is celebrated on new moon night. Diwali is on the new moon, Amavasya. And that also the way we celebrate is by this lighting crackers, and it's a festival of light on the new moon, on the dark moon. On the new moon, you are celebrating the festival of light. Why? So still I remember that I heard an interpretation from one of the senior Swamis, and that's what I told. Just see, they say light is everywhere. Actually, light is everywhere. The lasers, the light, these photon particles are everywhere. When these photons are scattered, it's all moving in diverse direction, it speaks of darkness. When somehow you can make the photons move in one direction, it becomes something like a laser, and then in that same darkness, the light comes out. So in the present society, if we all are like that photons and moving in diverse direction, all shouting, my way is the only way, we are going to create darkness. And the same darkness, like Diwali, there can be a celebration of light if we know to harmonize, not through uniformity, but by accepting unity in diversity. You can find a wonderful celebration of light where there is apparently darkness. And that's what speaks of this Ramakrishna's Jatamat Tatamat. We have to accept it if we have to survive as a global civilization. Otherwise, we will be just behaving like brutes. The history has already started proving that. If there has to be fanaticism at all, it has to be the fanaticism about the, this idea of unity in diversity. We'll be fanatic about that. We have to accept the fact that we are so diverse, and it is God who has made us diverse. We cannot make all to believe in the same way. We can have various ways of thinking, but they all can lead me to that same goal, where we find the human characters of most exalted characters in all those various paths. That's what Swami Vivekananda is saying. And that's what is the idea behind the idea, where Sri Ramakrishna is also saying that all the paths can lead to the same goal. So with this, we stop our discussion today. We'll continue. We thought, because it was this idea, because with which we find in the present world so much that confusion is going on. Unnecessary confusion is being created with such a sublime idea, that we felt that why not have some discussion on this? It's such a sublime idea. It's really something very demeaning to just make a caricature of this idea without trying to understand it in its proper perspective. Let us try to understand it from its proper perspective, and that's what is the need of the day. So with this, we stop our discussion today. We'll continue with the remaining portion of the gospel again in the next class. Thank you all. Namaskars.